Illinois is among several states deciding whether to opt into a new federal school voucher program. Under the program, which was passed by Congress in the so-called Big Beautiful Bill Act, donors can give up to $1,700 to nonprofits awarding K-12 scholarships and receive an equivalent amount back in federal tax credits. Scholarships can be used to help pay for private school tuition, along with some out-of-pocket expenses for public school families like tutoring or after-school programming. 28 states have opted into the program so far, most of which are Republican-led. The 4 states that have said no to the program are Wisconsin, New Mexico, Oregon, and Hawaii, and are all led by Democratic governors. Governor J.B. Pritzker has yet to decide whether he'll opt the state in, saying last week he was still waiting on program rules from the federal government.
Just on its face, the question is this just a repeat of trying to take money out of public schools and move it into private schools, which is what the Trump administration, generally speaking, has been in favor of? Or is this something that could be useful? But we just don't know because there are no rules around it right now.
Joining us to talk about this are Ann Corder, Education Issues Specialist for the League of Women Voters of Illinois, and Austin Berg, Executive Director for the Chicago Policy Center at the Illinois Policy Institute. Thanks to both of you for joining us to talk about this. Ann Corder, your organization, you all are among that coalition of groups that signed a letter to Governor Pritzker urging him not to opt into this program. What are your main concerns?
Yes, 40 organizations have joined us. We would like Governor Pritzker to stand up for public education, which is the backbone of our democracy. We think this should not be a partisan issue. Public schools are the most important thing that helps our workforce and provides social fabric, especially in rural communities. We are also working to educate citizens who have an opportunity to vote in a non-binding referendum on March 17th. About 10% of the population will be able to do that. Our concerns are that there is no such thing as free money, that this program will harm public education in Illinois for a variety of reasons. We think that this is not designed to help low-income students. We believe that this is wide open for waste, fraud, and abuse. And so we urge the governor to opt out.
Austin, you and your organization, you're in support of this federal program. How can the state and students in the state benefit from it?
Well, this unlocks hundreds of millions of dollars for education in Illinois. It's hundreds of millions of dollars that would otherwise go to D.C. or other states. So that's why you see Governor Jared Polis, Democratic governor in Colorado, say we would be crazy not to opt in. I grew up in Illinois and remember seeing, booster clubs, right, at the football games selling snacks or doing bake sales to fund scholarships or after-school programs. Imagine if every single one of those clubs across Illinois could take a $1-for-$1 federal tax credit. That unlocks tens of millions of dollars for public schools in Illinois, and that's why I think you see 28 states going for this.
Is that how I know we've got some stuff to work out, but is that how the program works, right? Like, for example, if I donate to one of these scholarship providing organizations, I can receive up to that amount back in a federal tax credit.
Yes.
But then is that necessarily unlocking millions of dollars? Doesn't that money has to come from scholarship organizations?
No, imagine I could either send $1,700 to Washington, D.C., or I could send that $1,700 to my local school community. And that could be public school, private school, after-school tutoring, any education expense. So I really do think it's a rising tide lifts all boats. And I agree with what was said before. I don't think it should be a partisan issue. That's why you see red, blue, purple states opting in.
And there are comparisons being made to the Invest in Kids scholarship program that was in Illinois. It sunset a couple of years ago. What did we learn from that program? How do you think it applies here?
It's a very comparable program. The tax credits are even more generous in this program. It's a 100% tax credit, so there is absolutely no skin in the game by the donor. It's 100% federal money coming out of our pockets as taxpayers to private religious schools. Invest in Kids saw that most of the money went to more well-off families. It went to private religious schools. And the kids were often not able to enter the school that they chose. Of the schools who were a part of that program, 50% did not have any students of color who were black, and 30% did not have Latino students. Only 15% of those schools provided special education. So to have that much federal money coming back into the state to a system that is private and religious and is not going to provide civil rights and special education opportunities for students, we think is a big mistake.
In this instance, though, the federal government says that the money is not necessarily just for private schools and institutions. Public school students could also use it for programming or other sort of assistance, provided that they meet the income qualifications.
The rules have yet to be promulgated. The law itself mentions some possibility of some tutoring services being provided for public school students, but it's been very clear from the Department of Education that no money should go to make the school budget any less tight. It will provide a possibility that students will not have access to things that they would get in a public school. Special education rights need to be waived. They need to have their funding for English language learners would not be available in those private schools. But the public aspect of it, we think, is highly unlikely to really provide much of a boon for public schools, because if you look at what the administration has done with public education in the last year, President Trump proposed cutting $300 million from education money flowing into the state. He has already cut a number of grants.
So, Austin, I want to get you back in here, because there are those who argue that, you know, the use of scholarship programs like this, that this takes money, it funnels it towards private schools, and that if students from public schools are leaving public schools to go to private schools, and that takes money from those public schools. What do you say to that argument?
I think it's misinformation to pit this as public versus private. This is about more resources for education, whatever works best for the kid. So for some kids, that's going to be some forms of private education. Other kids, they might need summer school, after school assistance. That's why the Democratic governor of Colorado opted in. He said, I would be crazy not to provide after school programs or summer school or extracurriculars. Either that money is going to the federal government or it's staying here, coming back here to Colorado. And that's what I really think the option is here is, do you want your $1,700 going to DC? Or would you like it to fund your local school community? And I think people from all political stripes would prefer if that money went to our local school communities.
There's also some supporters make the argument that, opting out of the program essentially leaves money on the table that could be supporting students. How do you respond to that, Ann?
No, we believe that the money that goes to Washington should be coming back to Illinois to public schools. It should be providing after-school programming and tutoring programming and fully funding the special education. We think that if we accepted this money, it would not outweigh the harm that would be caused by the private public voucher program. It will divert billions of dollars away, as Austin mentioned. It will be a huge program. It will divert that money away from the Title I programs and the special ed programs that could be coming to our state. It will divert, because there's no free money. There's no such thing as a free lunch. It comes from somewhere. Every time a student leaves,
I see you shaking your head. Yeah. So I'm going to come back to you. I promise. Austin, I see you shaking your head.
The question is, do we want to fund scholarships in other states with our federal tax money, or do we want that money coming back to Illinois? This is our money. It's not DC's money, and we shouldn't have to rely on the Trump administration to give it to us. And that's where I think the more you oppose what the Trump administration is doing right now, the more you should support this program. Your money is not going to the Trump agenda in DC. It's going to your local school community. And I think all political stripes should be on board with this, and that's why you're seeing, again, Democrat states, Republican states opting in.
And the federal government, as we've said, they're still developing the specific regulations. What are your concerns about the details that we don't know about yet?
For example, I think I agree that it's not partisan, but I think that it should be nonpartisan the other direction. I think that no one should be supporting this program. It's wide open for fraud and abuse. You've got a 10% gets to be diverted to the scholarship granting organization. From that money that is collected, 10% goes to an intermediary organization. It's not an efficient use of funding. It's also not designed to really help low-income students, or students really at all. Research shows that voucher programs do not result in higher student achievement, particularly for low-income students. The vouchers barely cover the entire cost of attending private religious schools. Even with a voucher, there's transportation costs, tuition, fees, books. It's too expensive for most low-income families.
And before we let you go, just got a little bit of time left. Austin, you know, the case for school choice, it has always been there. It seems to be getting a boost from the Trump administration. Why might some families choose not to send their kids to public schools?
Well, it's not one size fits all, right? Not everybody wears the same size shoe. So some kids need different kinds of services. Maybe they live closer to a private school that their family's comfortable with, or maybe they have a program that they wouldn't be able to access elsewhere. And I think it's really important, and it is really a civil rights choice. We saw Milwaukee generations ago lead the civil rights movement for school choice with Dr. Howard Fuller just a few miles away from where we are now. And I think it remains a civil rights issue that every parent should be able to choose the education that's right for their child. And I think this definitely supports that, but also supports public schools.
Okay, that is where we'll have to leave it. Obviously, we still await the governor's decision on this. Ann Corder and Austin Berg, thanks to you both for joining us.
Thank you.